Imagine taking a peaceful boat ride down a quiet river. You are surrounded by beautiful green trees and rolling hills. Suddenly, you look ahead, and out of the mist rises something completely unexpected. A massive, crumbling castle, looking right out of a fantasy movie or a dark fairy tale, appears on the water. But you are not in Scotland, and you are not in Europe. You are just about an hour away from the busy streets of New York City. This is Bannerman Castle, a ruined fortress sitting perfectly still on a small island in the middle of the Hudson River. Today, we are going to explore the crazy story of how a Scottish castle ended up in New York, and why it is now an empty, broken shell. To understand this strange place, we have to talk about a man named Frank Bannerman. Frank was born in Scotland but moved to America when he was just a little boy. Growing up in Brooklyn, he started a business that seems pretty wild to us today. He bought scrap metal and old military gear left over after the American Civil War. He was basically the king of army surplus. If you needed a rusty sword, an old uniform, or even a heavy cannon, Frank was your guy. His business grew incredibly fast, and soon he was buying up huge amounts of dangerous explosives and ammunition. As you can probably guess, keeping thousands of pounds of gunpowder in the middle of a crowded city like New York was a terrible idea. The city officials finally realized how dangerous this was and told Frank he had to get his explosives out of town before he blew up a whole neighborhood. Frank needed a safe, isolated place to store his massive collection of weapons. One day, while he was traveling, he spotted Pollepel Island on the Hudson River. It was perfect. It was surrounded by water, easy to reach by boat, and safely away from innocent people. He bought the island in the year 1900 and got to work. But Frank didn't just want to build a boring, ugly warehouse. He wanted to honor his Scottish roots. So, he designed the buildings himself to look like the grand castles of his homeland. He didn't even use professional architects. He just drew what he wanted on pieces of paper, and the builders followed his sketches. When it was finished, the island had a giant, towering castle that served as the world's most dramatic storage unit for guns and bombs. On the side of the castle wall, huge letters spelled out Bannerman's Island Arsenal, acting like a giant billboard for any boats passing by. For a while, the island was a busy, working place. Boats would come and go, dropping off old weapons from different wars and picking up orders for customers. Frank's family loved spending their summers there, surrounded by beautiful gardens and the quiet of the river. It felt like a little piece of magic hidden away from the world. But this peaceful time on the island was not meant to last forever. When you store that many explosives in one place, things are eventually going to go wrong. The bad luck started shortly after Frank Bannerman passed away in 1918. 2 years later, in the summer of 1920, the island shook with a massive explosion. Over 200 pounds of gunpowder and artillery shells blew up in one of the smaller storage buildings. The blast was so strong that it threw heavy rocks and debris all the way across the river and blew out a huge chunk of the main castle. Thankfully, no one was killed, but the damage was permanent. This was the first major wound to Bannerman Castle. After the explosion, the Bannerman family slowly stopped using the island. The business changed, and the old weapons were sold or given away to the government. The island was finally sold to the state of New York in 1967. But the real tragedy happened just 2 years later, in 1969. A huge fire broke out. No one knows exactly how it started, but it burned completely out of control. It destroyed the roofs, the wooden floors, and all the doors and windows. The fire left the castle as an empty, ruined shell, open to the rain and snow. Today, nature has completely taken over. Thick green vines climb up the cracked brick walls, and trees grow right through the empty windows. The weather has been cruel to the castle. Over the years, massive sections of the walls have collapsed into the dirt. It is actually very dangerous to get too close because bricks are always falling. The people who care for the island have put up metal support beams just to keep the remaining walls from falling down completely. It is a hauntingly beautiful sight. Bannerman Castle is one of those places that feels frozen in time. It started as a rich man's dream and a giant storage room for weapons of war, but it ended up as a silent, broken monument slowly sinking back into the earth. It reminds us that no matter how big or strong we build something, nature always wins in the end. Thank you for exploring this amazing ruin with me today. Have you ever seen a place like this? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories of forgotten places. See you in the next video.